Okay, so I have my boxes ready to go here, my small square box as well as my rectangle box. I'm going to start by creating a little slit for the Valentines to go in at the top of the rectangle box. You can buy these boxes sometimes with the slits already done if you check like your craft stores, but I'm going to do this under the assumption that I have an old shoebox or something like that. I'm just using a ruler here to sort of mark where I want the cut to go, so I have a bit of a guide to work with and a straight edge to work with. I'm using a self-healing safe mat here, a cutting mat with my X-Acto knife so that I don't damage the surface underneath, and I'm just going to use my X-Acto knife there to cut out that little slot. I'm using a rectangle box for this because I think it works best for the shape of the dinosaur, but you can absolutely use a square one if you prefer that and kind of change up the way the dinosaur looks altogether. After I get this cut, we're going to wrap them in wrapping paper. Now, you don't have to wrap them in wrapping paper. You could let your kids paint them if you want. I think that's a really fun way to get the kids involved if you want them to have like some foam brushes and acrylic paint to paint their box whatever color they want. I am going to wrap mine because that is the look I wanted to go for, and my kids picked out the color paper that they wanted me to wrap it in. I am wrapping the top and bottom of this rectangle box separately. That is completely up to you. That's just how I'm doing mine. I've cut a piece of wrapping paper here. I'm putting something weighted in the center of my box so that it doesn't shift around on me, just my glue there. And I'm using my scissors to cut diagonally towards each of the corners of my rectangle box. This is just going to allow me to wrap the bottom of the box a little bit more effortlessly. I'm sure there's a lot of different ways you could probably do this. This is just the easiest way that came to mind for me. I start on the long side and I fold up, and you should see pretty effortlessly how the box is going to be able to be wrapped. The paper should sort of form to it if you've added those diagonal corner cuts like I did there with the box. And I'm using some tape to just tape that on the inside so you can't see any of the tape from the outside of the box. You could wrap the box completely as one piece if you don't want to wrap the top and the bottom separately. That's just completely up to your preference. The unicorn box I did in the last tutorial was one whole seamless square box, so in that case, of course, I wrapped it as one whole piece. And then to get the candy out, I probably will just either cut a wider slot in the top for my kids to be able to reach in, or I might cut a little hole in the very bottom where you can't see it at the bottom so they can reach in and get the candy that way too. Alright, so I have the bottom of my box wrapped there. I'm going to wrap the top next. I'm going to basically do sort of a similar thing. I'm just cutting a piece of paper to size, and then I'm going to flip it over here so that the slot is face down. And I'm going to trim down this paper just a little bit first, and then I'm going to cut those diagonal lines at the corners again, just like we did with the bottom of the box, and I'm going to fold up the paper on each side and wrap it and then secure it with tape from the inside top of the box. And then for the square box here, which is going to be the dinosaur's head, I have wrapped that also in paper. One little tip here that I'm showing you is I'm using a runner tape, like a scrapbooking tape that's a double-sided tape, to tape the edges here of this box so you're not seeing tape seams on the side of the box. It just makes it look a little bit more smooth. It's not completely like a must, it's just kind of an optional tip if you want to make it look a little bit more seamless. I am going to be adding this smaller box onto one side of the rectangle box here, so it'll be sort of the dinosaur's head and then the body. I'm going to be putting just a bunch of hot glue there. This is the part that an adult definitely wants to do this part. You will want hot glue to make sure that stays in place, or some sort of really strong liquid glue that dries rather quickly. So I'm just placing that right on the top there. Once you get the boxes completely prepped, you're going to want to cut out your dinosaur decorative pieces. These are the templates that are free on the blog. I use my Cricut machine, as you're seeing here, to cut out my 65-pound cardstock. You can absolutely use a pair of scissors too. I have PDF printables, so if you want to get the kids involved with a pair of kid-safe scissors, and they can cut out these little simple shapes to decorate their dinosaur box or whatever box they might be doing, you can absolutely do that too. So don't be afraid to use just a pair of scissors if you don't have a cutting machine. I brought my son in on this to start helping. I gave him a glue stick so he could glue all these pieces of the dinosaur together. We're starting with the tail, and he's just using a glue stick to add these little details. This is where I think your kids can really get involved to help decorate their box. And it could be a great family project. We finished with the tail now, and we're going to assemble the feet here. You'll see in the templates that there's sort of a little paw, dinosaur paw foot that you can layer together. So my son's helping me with that and using his glue stick for that. For the pieces here that you're seeing, which are like the little spikes, I'm gluing those two back to back, and then I'm folding at the base backwards so that it'll kind of stand up on its own, and that's where we can easily add some hot glue as adults and put them onto the box. Your kids could also help with this part here. I was just doing it to show you how I was folding it right at the bottom there to create sort of a little way for it to stand up on its own. We're also going to do the same thing with the dinosaur's tail. So I'm adding some glue here, and I'm going to place them back to back. And then right at the point where I'm going to want this to connect to the box, I'm just going to fold back slightly so that there's a way for me to add some glue and to connect it right to the back of the box, just like that. So I have my spikes prepped there, and I have my dinosaur tail and my dinosaur feet are all prepped. And for some of these pieces here that you're going to need to be kind of specific with where they're going to go, an adult's probably going to want to use a hot glue gun for that to just add those pieces on there. And I'm also gluing on the dinosaur's little spikes on his back the same way we did the tail, and just sticking those wherever I would like them to go. For me, it looks good to have one on the back and then a couple like on the head. I'm also gluing on the dinosaur's feet, 2 on the front and 2 on the back. You could probably have your kids do this part too, but I'm just using the hot glue for it for examples purposes here, but you could probably have them use their glue stick for this part. Now for our dinosaur's face, you'll see in the templates that there is a little mouth and sort of a little cheeky smile, and then also a eye. Now for the eye, I decided to use a print and cut process on like a printable vinyl or sticker paper to be able to place the eye on that way, but you could also just print the eye out, cut it out, or have your kids cut it out with some kid-safe scissors, and then just glue it on with a glue stick that way as well. The last part is going to be to add little spots. So there's lots of spots in the lots of different shapes of spots in the templates. They're definitely easy for kids to cut out, or you can cut them on your Cricut like I did, and you can let your kids have fun placing them all over the dinosaur and on the head and the back and the side and everything like that. And that's how easy it is to make this really cute, adorable dinosaur Valentine's box. You can add as much detail as you want or as little detail as you want. You can get your kids involved. Make sure you watch part 1 of this video where I also show a unicorn box that I made with my daughter. So if you want to do a unicorn box and you have a little girl in your life who would love that, you can watch my process for that and also get the templates that I use for the unicorn, as well as these dinosaur templates on the blog, which are completely free. There's SVG files and printable PDFs, so you can make it work no matter if you have a cutting machine or if you're just cutting by hand. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. Bye for now.